Well, I've just pulled into Sheldon's Hobbies and the FedEx man was in front of me just pulling out, which bodes well for what might have just arrived in store. And it has, as I can spot straight away, exactly the car that I've come down here to have a good look at. Well, here's our first close-up look at the Arrma Kraton AS. Now, I thought it would be big, but this is way, way bigger than I thought. It literally looks about 20% bigger than I thought it would do. And whilst I'd read the dimensions of the Kraton AS online, nothing prepared me visually for the impact that it was going to have on me. I was thinking it would just be like an oversized Kraton AS. Looks like a completely different car indeed. Quite gobsmacking. And just going in for a close-up look at those 24mm shocks on the back there, and then just diving down for a quick look at the rear drive shaft, and also diving on in so you can get a close-up of the C-hubs and check out that rear fully adjustable suspension. And check out that rear wing, which was about the only thing visible in the Arrma's teaser of the Arrma Kraton AS. Also note the vents behind the back of the cab on the body. Moving on to the front, check out that integrated front skid and bumper all in one, and just dive down a couple of quick look at the front suspension at the same time. It's a beast by any other name for sure. And another very neat feature is these body pin supports, which help stop the body being pulled through under heavy landings. Well, today my first impression is the A in Arrma stands for awesome, because this thing looks gorgeous. But oh no, shock horror, it's got plastic shock towers, not metal ones. Is the world going to end tomorrow? Now it's got plastic shock towers. Well, it's called innovation, people, and a world does move on, and the ASX Max, love it or hate it, hasn't done too bad with them. Now, tucked away right at the front of the car there, we've got the front diff with just 7 screws holding it in, exactly the same for releasing the rear diff. Well, the next standout feature isn't the red tower-to-tower brace, it's the 2 that form a triangular pattern on there, adding extra strength to the car. And that tower forms part of an integrated rollover protection for the car that includes the body, as I shall show you in just a second. So, let's have a look at it and see inside those 2 lugs on there mount those 2 holes on the top of the rollover tower, protecting the body in the event of an upside down hard landing. Well, plastic shock towers aside, and I wouldn't write those off as yet, you've got plenty of metal in the car, very thick aluminum chassis. However, the one thing I did notice is this rear drive shaft is very long and it looks quite thin in relation to the power I should imagine this is giving out. It stands out for not looking quite as beefy as everything else does on the car. Anyway, here we have our new 160 amp Spectrum Smart Esc, but more on that in a minute. And that Smart Esc is part of a new integrated electronics module with the servo tucked underneath and the receiver tucked behind that. Now that could prove to be a really good thing, or possibly a weak point. I really like the fact you can remove all the electronics in one module, pull the whole thing out. However, it may limit the size of any components that you choose to put in there should you go down an upgrade path. So that's possibly something to think of. And here we have our brushless 1250 kV motor with a built-in fan on top of it. Now, interesting to note, it's the same 160 amp ESC fitted to this car as fitted to the new Losi DBXLE, which has an 850 kV motor. Now, to get up to that 55mph maximum speed, you're also going to need to fit the optional pin in it. Now, I'm not sure if it comes with that or not, but the one thing I know it doesn't come with is sway bars, which are also an optional extra, as opposed to a standard fit to the Kraton 6S. So if you want the sway bars, you're going to need to pay extra for them. Now, it has the new IC5 connectors, so if you've got the new smart batteries, they will integrate with the smart ESC, providing you with full telemetry. You're able to tell just how much juice you've got left in the batteries, as well as the speed, temperature, etc. from the telemetry setup. Well, don't be put off by all that plastic in the centre of the picture where the transmission is, as this has got a full metal transmission with every single gear being metal. Looks very substantial indeed online. Well, I'm zooming in on the pinion gear because it's what they call the new D pinion, which has got a flat spot cut on it to match the flat spot on the shaft, so it's not going anywhere in a hurry. It's also secured down by a grub screw, and if you look on the end of it, it's also got a little C-clip on there, so that pinion is not going anywhere in a hurry. Now moving on to the battery trays, they appear quite rigid as though they are held in place, but it clearly shows they can be extended online, so I'm thinking you undo this screw and possibly the one on the other end and then slide them apart, tighten it back up to hold them into position so that they fit your batteries nice and snugly and don't go anywhere. At least that's how it appears to work. And you've also got a similar tray on the other side there. Turn a little cap back on the 160 amp ESC on off switch and set button for programming it. Anyway, are you liking the Arrma Kraton? Let me know in the comment section below the video. Anyway, moving on back with a bit clearer view of those 24mm aluminum big bore shocks, adjustable all round. They're threaded, and speaking of adjustment, the rear suspension is fully adjustable, as is the front suspension. Now I have to say, the engineer in me has to say the thing looks absolutely drop dead gorgeous from an engineering perspective. Whether you like the plastic shock towers or not, still looks pretty good. Anyway, moving on to those wheels, which come with the 24mm hex. Now the ATES X Max has a 17mm hex. That means you're not going to get any commonality of use between the wheels, which is maybe a little bit of a limiting factor, but not a showstopper, but something to be aware of. Had they had the same size hexes as the X Max, you would have just had more options. If you like what you see today, don't forget to subscribe. Anyway, time for a look at the underside of the car and check out those A-arms. They do not look that big from the top. They're simply massive underneath. They look nowhere near as big visually from the top as they do from the bottom. Now, seeing a few innovations on this chassis. I'll come to the etching in a minute, but we've got front skid plate. Know these indentations. They're to give the chassis extra strength, make it more rigid without adding to the thickness of it, to help keep the weight down a little bit. Now that etching, that is a bit lost on me, because I'm thinking within a week or so that will be scratched to pieces with you going over stuff when you're out bashing. Could just be me, other people may have a different opinion on that. It would be nice if you were just going to keep it as a shelf queen, but who's going to buy this to keep it as a shelf queen? Anyway, as I say, we've got that front skid plate on there and a rear skid plate as well. But that etching, is it me? Or will people not notice that this is an Arrma without having to turn the bottom over to look at the underside to see who makes it? I would rather have seen that money saved and spent elsewhere on the car. Anyway, moving on to the rear, again, just check out those A-arms. They look so much bigger. From underneath, it's almost untrue. Okay, I've got it on the floor. Time for a quick suspension test. I'm going to lift that front wheel up until the inside rear wheel just begins to lift, and we're probably coming up on about 7 inches of travel on the front there, which is highly impressive, as is the damping on this car, which is just plain stupid, indicating it is definitely designed for some serious air straight out of the box. Anyway, time to check that rear suspension travel out, lifting that up until the front just comes clear, and we've probably got coming up on maybe 9 inches of travel on the back. There's certainly a good 8 inches. It is just ridiculous the amount of travel this thing has got, which bodes for it very well indeed out there in the real world. It is not bottoming out in a hurry. Well, if you like the look of the Arrma Kraton S and you're in NorCal, then get yourselves on down to Sheldon Hobbies in San Jose, where this car is available for you to come and view, take the lid off, just as I have done, and make a decision as to whether to order one or not. There's a link to Sheldon Hobbies below the video. They carry a full range of Arrma spares, as long as a vast amount for other RC cars. Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video, and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.